The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was the largest room ever built by any species. It floated in the center of Station Collective, a massive space station that served as the meeting place for all known civilizations. The hall could hold 10,000 beings from hundreds of different worlds. Today, like most days, it was full of noise and argument. Park Do-hyun sat in the human section and listened to the Velian High Speaker talk. The Velian was a tall creature with gray skin and many tentacles. His voice echoed through the hall as he explained why the human proposal was not worth discussing. The humans ask for too much, the High Speaker said. They want equal voting rights. They want seats on the trade committee. They want their scientists to lead the exploration missions. But humans have only been part of this council for 200 years. Some species here have been members for 10,000 years. Why should we change our ways for such a young race? Do-hyun had heard these words before. He had heard them for the past 30 years of his career. Every time humans asked for something, the answer was the same. Too young. Too new. Not experienced enough. Wait your turn. He looked around the hall. The Mordian delegate sat in his crystal chair, his body glowing with soft blue light. The Kreth ambassador cleaned her scales with her claws, not even pretending to pay attention. The Omoran representatives floated in their water tanks, their many eyes watching everything and nothing. None of them cared. None of them had ever cared. Do-hyun thought about his grandmother. She had been one of the first human diplomats to visit Station Collective. She had believed that if humans worked hard and showed good faith, the other species would accept them. She had died still believing that, even after 50 years of being ignored. The High Speaker finished his speech. We will not vote on the human proposal. It is not suitable for discussion at this time. Now let us move to the next matter. Do-hyun stood up. His chair made a small sound as it moved back. In the quiet moment between the High Speaker's words, that small sound seemed very loud. Ambassador Park, the High Speaker said, do you wish to speak? No, Do-hyun said. I wish to leave. He turned and walked toward the exit. Behind him, his team of 12 diplomats rose from their seats and followed. Their footsteps echoed in the sudden silence. Ambassador Park, the High Speaker's voice was sharp with surprise. The session is not concluded. You cannot simply leave. Do-hyun stopped at the great doors. He turned back and looked at the thousands of alien faces staring at him. For 200 years, humans had sat in this hall. They had listened politely. They had made proposals that were ignored. They had always stayed, always tried, always hoped. It concluded for us 3 hours ago, Do-hyun said, when you refused to even read our proposal before rejecting it. He pushed open the doors and walked out. His team followed. The doors closed behind them with a deep, final sound. In the observation gallery above the main hall, Kim Yuna watched everything happen. She was Earth's Secretary of Interstellar Relations, the highest diplomatic position a human could hold. She had come to Station Collective to observe the session, expecting another quiet day of being ignored. She had not expected this. Her assistant, a young woman named Choi Sun-hee, stood beside her with wide eyes. Ma'am, did Ambassador Park just walk out? Yes, Yuna said. Her voice was calm, but her heart was beating fast. He did. But we never walk out. We always stay. We always try to negotiate. Perhaps we are done trying. Below them, the council hall had erupted into chaos. 17 different species were all talking at once. The Velians were shouting at the Mordians. The Kreth were arguing with the Omorans. Without the humans sitting quietly in the middle, without human diplomats moving between groups and calming tensions, the carefully maintained peace was falling apart. Yuna watched a Velian delegate point an angry tentacle at a Mordian representative. She watched the Mordian's crystal body flash with dangerous red light. She watched the Kreth ambassador stand up and bare her teeth at both of them. "They are going to fight," Sun-Hee whispered. "Perhaps," Yuna said, "but that is no longer our problem." She turned away from the gallery and walked toward the exit. After a moment of hesitation, Sun-Hee followed her. In the corridor outside, they found Do-hyun waiting with his team. The old ambassador's face was tired but peaceful. He looked like a man who had finally set down a heavy weight he had been carrying for a very long time. "Secretary Kim," he said, "I apologize if I acted without proper authorization." Yuna shook her head. "You did what needed to be done. I should have done it years ago." "What happens now?" Sun-Hee asked. Do-hyun smiled. It was a sad smile, but also a little bit proud. "Now we go home. We close our embassy. We stop answering their calls. We let them see what the galaxy looks like, without humans trying to fix everything." "They will be angry," Sun-Hee said. "Yes," Yuna agreed. "They will be angry. Then they will be confused. Then they will be scared. And then, maybe, they will finally understand." "Understand what?" Sun-Hee asked. Yuna looked back toward the council hall. Even through the closed doors, she could hear the shouting. 200 years of being treated like children. 200 years of being told to wait, to be patient, to earn respect that was never given. 200 years of holding the galaxy together, while everyone pretended humans were not important. "They will understand," Yuna said quietly, "that they needed us far more than we ever needed them." She walked toward the human shuttle bay, her team following behind her. Behind them, the sounds of argument grew louder and louder. The galaxy was about to learn a very difficult lesson, and humanity was done being the teacher who worked for free. 3 weeks passed after the humans walked out of the Galactic Council. In that time, the galaxy changed in ways no one had expected. The Mordian delegates stood in the council chamber and looked around at the empty human section. The chairs were still there, but they were covered with dust now. No one had sat in them since that day. No one had cleaned them either. It was as if the other species were afraid to touch anything that belonged to the humans. "They will come back," the Mordian said. His crystal body pulsed with yellow light, the color of confidence. "They have to come back. They need our trade networks. They need our technology. They need us." The Velian High Speaker did not look so sure. His tentacles hung low, a sign of worry among his kind. "We have sent 17 messages to the human embassy. They have not answered any of them." "Then send more messages." "We have sent ships to Earth. They were turned away at the border of human space, politely but firmly." The Mordian's glow flickered. "They cannot do that. We have trade agreements." "The agreements allow either side to suspend trade for reasons of diplomatic concern. The humans have cited diplomatic concern." The High Speaker's voice was tired. "They are following the rules perfectly. We cannot force them to talk to us." On the other side of the chamber, the Kreth ambassador was having a very bad day. Her scales had turned pale gray, the color of stress. For the past 2 weeks, her species had been fighting with the Velians over a border dispute. Normally, the humans would have stepped in to help negotiate. The humans were always willing to help. The humans never asked for anything in return. The humans always found a way to make both sides feel like they had won. But the humans were gone now. Without human negotiators, the talks had failed. Without human trade ships carrying goods between Kreth and Velian space, the economy was suffering. Without human scientists working on joint research projects, important work had stopped. The Kreth ambassador had tried to negotiate directly with the Velians. It had not gone well. Both sides had said things they regretted. Both sides had moved warships closer to the border. Both sides were scared. But neither side knew how to back down without losing face. On Earth, in a quiet office in the city of Seoul, Choi Sun-Hee worked late into the night. She had been promoted after the walkout. Now, she was one of the main analysts, watching how the galaxy responded to humanity's silence. The reports on her screen were almost hard to believe. The Mordian economy had fallen by 30%. The Velians had lost access to rare minerals that only humans knew how to mine. The Omuran Collective, a group of 12 aquatic species that had always voted together, was breaking apart because there was no one to help them solve their internal arguments. 3 colony worlds had declared independence from the Velian Empire. 2 Mordian mining stations had gone silent after their workers refused to continue without human safety inspectors. A Kreth research vessel had been lost in unexplored space because they did not have human navigators who knew that region. They really did need us, Sun-Hee whispered to herself. Her office door opened. General Baek Jin-ho walked in. He was a tall man with gray hair and sharp eyes. He commanded Earth's defense forces, but today he looked more worried than proud. "What is the latest?" he asked. Sun-Hee turned her screen so he could see. "The Velians and Kreth are moving more ships to their border. The Mordians are threatening to cut off trade with anyone who tries to contact us directly. The Omurans are fighting among themselves about whether to ask us for help." "How close are the Velians and Kreth to actual war?" Sun-Hee checked her data. "Intelligence says maybe 2 weeks, maybe less. Their diplomats have stopped talking completely." Jin-Ho sat down heavily in a chair. 200 years, he said. "For 200 years, we stopped their wars. We negotiated their treaties. We kept the peace. And they treated us like servants. Like children who should be grateful for being allowed in the room." "Do we let them fight?" Sun-Hee asked. It was a hard question. If the Velians and Kreth went to war, millions could die, cities could burn, worlds could be destroyed, and humanity could stop it. All they had to do was answer the messages. All they had to do was go back. Jin-Ho was quiet for a long time. "No," he finally said, "we do not let them fight. But we do not save them for free anymore either." "What do you mean?" "I mean, we wait. We let them get scared. We let them understand how much they needed us. And then, when they are ready to treat us as equals, we will talk." He stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the city lights of Seoul glittered in the darkness. "They called us young. They called us inexperienced. They said we had not earned our place." He turned back to Sun-Hee. His eyes were hard but not cruel. "Now they will learn that the galaxy does not run on age or experience. It runs on the people who actually do the work. And for 200 years, that was us." Sun-Hee looked back at her reports. Another message from the Omurans, begging for help. Another warning from the Kreth border. Another sign that the galaxy was falling apart. She saved the reports and closed her screen. The humans would wait, and the galaxy would learn. The Unity Beacon was the oldest thing in the galaxy. It sat in the center of Station Collective, a tower of black metal that reached up toward the stars. No one remembered who had built it. No one knew exactly how it worked. But everyone knew what it meant. The Unity Beacon was only activated when the galaxy faced complete destruction. In 4,000 years, it had been used 3 times. Once for a plague that killed billions. Once for an invasion from another galaxy. Once for a civil war that nearly ended all intelligent life. Now, for the 4th time in history, the beacon began to glow. The light was soft at first, then brighter and brighter. It spread out from Station Collective in all directions, faster than any ship could travel. Within hours, every civilization in the known galaxy received the signal. The message was simple. Come, now. Everything depends on it. On Earth, the beacon's light appeared in the night sky like a new star. People stopped in the streets to look up at it. They knew what it meant. They had learned about it in school. The Unity Beacon meant danger. The Unity Beacon meant all species had to come together or die. Secretary Kim Yuna received the official summons in her office. She read it 3 times, then called an emergency meeting. "They are using the beacon," she told her staff. "They are calling all species to Station Collective for an emergency session." "Are we going?" asked Sun-hee. Yuna looked out the window at the strange light in the sky. "They want us to come running back. They want us to be scared by their ancient signal. They want us to forget the past 2 months and return to being their quiet helpers." "The beacon is not supposed to be used for politics," said Park Do-yoon. The old ambassador had come out of retirement when the light appeared. Using it this way breaks thousands of years of tradition. The Velian-Kreth War has started. 3 battles already. Hundreds of ships destroyed. The Mordian economy has collapsed. The Omuran Collective has split into 5 separate factions. They have tried everything else. Now, they are trying to force us to come back. General Baek Jinho stood by the door with his arms crossed. "What happens if we ignore the beacon?" Everyone looked at him in surprise. No species had ever ignored the Unity Beacon. It was unthinkable. It was against every rule and tradition of galactic civilization. "If we ignore it," Yuna said slowly, "we tell the galaxy that we are no longer part of their system. We tell them that their rules do not apply to us. We tell them that we do not need them." "Do we need them?" Jinho asked. The room was very quiet. Far from Earth, aboard the diplomatic ship Hainul's Grace, Ambassador Park Do-hyun looked at the beacon's light through his window. His aide, Lee Minji, stood beside him with a tablet in her hands. "The summons is official," Minji said. "The High Speaker himself signed it. All species are required to attend. Failure to appear will be considered an act of abandonment." Do-hyun laughed softly. It was not a happy laugh. Abandonment? They use that word as if we are the ones who left them, as if we are the ones who refused to listen for 200 years. "Will we respond?" Do-hyun turned away from the window. He walked to his desk and sat down. On the desk was a picture of his grandmother, the first human diplomat to Station Collective. She had spent her whole life trying to earn respect from species who would never give it. "We will respond," he said, "but not the way they expect." He picked up his communication device and recorded a message. It was short, only a few sentences, but those sentences would change everything. "To the Galactic Council," he said, "humanity has received your summons. We understand your concern. We see the wars and the collapse and the fear. We know you want us to return and fix everything, as we always have. But we must ask, why should we? For 200 years you called us young. You called us unimportant. You took our help and gave nothing in return. Now you activate the Unity Beacon, a tool meant for extinction-level threats, because you cannot solve your own problems. We are not an extinction-level threat. We are what kept extinction from happening. If you want us to return, you must first answer one question. What are we worth to you? We will wait for your answer." He ended the recording and sent it across the galaxy. On Station Collective, the Velian High Speaker listened to the human message in shock. Around him, delegates from every species had gathered in response to the beacon. They had expected the humans to come running. They had expected fear and apology and a quick return to the old ways. Instead, they got a question. What are we worth to you? The High Speaker looked around the hall at his fellow council members. For the first time in his long life, he did not know what to say. And somewhere, on a small blue planet orbiting a yellow star, humanity waited for the galaxy to answer. The answer came 3 days later. It was not what anyone expected. The Velian High Speaker appeared on every communication channel in the galaxy. His tentacles hung low, and his skin had turned a pale shade that showed shame among his kind. Behind him stood representatives from every major species on the council. "To humanity," he began, "we have discussed your question. We have argued and debated and fought among ourselves trying to find the right words. Some of us wanted to ignore you. Some of us wanted to threaten you. But in the end, we realized that we must speak the truth. He paused. The galaxy waited. You are worth more than we ever admitted. For 200 years, you kept the peace. You negotiated our treaties. You solved our problems. You asked for nothing but respect, and we gave you nothing but silence. We were wrong. We are sorry. Please, we need you to come back. Secretary Kim Yuna watched the message in her office with her staff. When it ended, no one spoke for a long moment. They apologized, Sun He whispered. The Velians never apologize to anyone. They are scared, General Jinho said. The Velian-Kreth war has spread. The Mordians have started fighting the Omerans over trade routes. Half the galaxy is on fire. Do we accept? Asked Li Minji. Yuna stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the world was peaceful. Earth was safe. They had enough food, enough resources, enough technology to survive on their own. They did not need the galaxy. But millions of beings were dying out there. Ships were burning. Cities were falling. Children of 100 different species were crying in fear while their worlds tore themselves apart. We accept, Yuna said, but on our terms. 1 week later, her shuttle landed on Station Collective. She came with only 3 aides and no guards. She wore a simple gray suit with no medals or decorations. She looked like a businesswoman, not a diplomat. The council chamber had been prepared for her arrival. Every seat was filled. Every eye watched as she walked to the center of the floor and stopped. We will hear your terms, the Velian High Speaker said. His voice was carefully respectful. Yuna smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile of someone who had waited a very long time for this moment. Humanity will no longer serve as unpaid mediators. Every negotiation, every treaty, every peace talk that requires human involvement will be compensated. The rate will be decided by us, not by you. Whispers spread through the chamber. The Mordian delegate's crystal body flickered with angry red light, but he said nothing. Second, Yuna continued, all human proposals that have been ignored over the past 50 years will be reviewed and voted upon, fairly. No more automatic rejection just because we are young. The Kreth ambassador nodded slowly. Her scales had returned to a healthy color since the ceasefire that humans had negotiated yesterday. She, at least, understood what humanity was worth now. Third, the voting structure of this council will change. No species will have extra votes just because they are old. Every species will be equal. One world, one vote. Now the chamber erupted. The Velians had always had 3 votes. The idea of being equal to younger species was too much for some of them to accept. You cannot demand this, a Mordian council member shouted. We built this council. We created these rules. You cannot simply change everything. Yuna raised one hand. The chamber slowly fell silent. I am not demanding anything, she said calmly. I am offering. You can accept these terms and we will help you rebuild. We will end your wars. We will repair your economies. We will make the galaxy work again. Or you can reject these terms. And if we reject? The High Speaker asked. Then we leave. Permanently. We have already signed trade agreements with the Kreth Confederation and the Omeran factions. We have defense treaties with 12 smaller species who were tired of being bullied by this council. We do not need you, but you clearly need us. She waited. The chamber was completely silent. The High Speaker looked around at his fellow council members. The Mordians were still angry, but their anger was mixed with fear. The Kreth were already nodding in agreement. The Omerans had split so badly that half of them were supporting the humans just to spite the other half. The old order was already dead. The only question was, what would replace it? We accept your terms, the High Speaker said finally. His tentacles trembled as he spoke. All of them. The council will reform according to your specifications. Yuna bowed her head slightly. Thank you, We will begin the peace negotiations for the Velian-Kreth conflict tomorrow. The Mordian-Omeran situation will be addressed next week. In the meantime, human trade ships will resume normal operations, and human diplomats will return to their posts. She turned and walked toward the exit. At the door, she paused and looked back. "Oh, and one more thing," she said. "Ambassador Park Do-hyun will be nominated as the new council arbiter. I trust there will be no objections." There were no objections. The humans had returned, but nothing would ever be the same. 1 year had passed since the day humans walked out of the Galactic Council. In that time, everything had changed. The Great Hall looked different now. The seating had been rearranged so that every species sat in equal sections. The old elevated platforms, where the Velians and Mordians had once looked down on everyone else, had been removed. Now everyone sat at the same level. Now everyone was equal. In the center of the hall, in a chair that had never existed before, sat Park Do-hyun. He was the first council arbiter in galactic history. His job was not to rule or to command. His job was to listen, to guide, and to make sure that everyone had a fair chance to speak. "The motion is on the table," he announced. His voice was calm and clear. "The Velian-Kreth Border Commission has completed its work. Both sides have agreed to the new boundaries. Both sides will contribute to the reconstruction of the damaged worlds. Is there any objection?" He looked around the chamber. The Velian delegate sat quietly in his new smaller section. His tentacles were folded in acceptance. The Kreth ambassador had her scales turned bright green, the color of satisfaction among her kind. "No objections," Do-hyun said. "The motion passes." 1 year ago, this border dispute had nearly caused a war. Now it was solved with a simple vote and a few signatures. The galaxy was learning a new way to do things. In the observation gallery, Lee Minji recorded everything for the historical archive. She had been promoted to chief historian for the Human Diplomatic Corps. Her job was to make sure that future generations would remember how this moment had come to be. Beside her sat beings from 12 new species. They had applied to join the Reformed Council after hearing how different things were now. They were small civilizations, young races that had been too afraid to approach the old council. The Velians would have ignored them. The Mordians would have exploited them. But the new council welcomed everyone. "It is so different," said a small furry creature from a world near human space. "We always thought the council was for the big and powerful. We never imagined we could have a voice." Minji smiled at her. "That is what we fought for. Everyone deserves to be heard." Down on the council floor, the session continued. A trade agreement was approved. A scientific cooperation treaty was signed. A dispute between two minor species was referred to mediation. The work of the galaxy went on, smoothly and fairly. When the session ended, Do-hyun walked out of the chamber and found General Baek Jin-ho waiting for him. The old general had retired from military service. Now he worked as an advisor for the new Council Security Force, a peacekeeping group that included officers from all species. "Another successful day," Jin-ho said. "They are getting better at working together," Do-hyun agreed. "The Velians still complain about the new rules, but they follow them. The Mordians have actually started cooperating with other species on research projects. Even the Omerans have reunified. Because of us." "No," Do-hyun said. He shook his head slowly. "Because of what we showed them. We did not force them to change. We just showed them what would happen if they did not. They chose to change themselves." Jin-ho nodded. "Still, it would never have happened if we had not walked out." "No," Do-hyun admitted. "It would not." On Earth, Secretary Kim Yuna sat in her office and watched the live broadcast of the council session. The sun was setting outside her window, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. She held a cup of tea in her hands and smiled at the screen. Her assistant, Choi Sun-hee, knocked on the door and entered. She carried a report in her hands. "The latest numbers from the Economic Bureau," Sun-hee said. "Human trade has increased by 40% since the reforms. Our scientists are leading 6 major research projects. Our diplomats are requested by name for over 70% of all negotiations." Yuna nodded. "We are no longer the helpers. We are the leaders." "Is that what you wanted?" Yuna thought about the question. A year ago, she had wanted respect. She had wanted the galaxy to see humans as equals. She had not planned to become the most powerful species in the Council. That had simply happened because someone needed to lead, and humans were the only ones everyone trusted. "I wanted us to have a choice," she finally said. "For 200 years, we had no choice. We were ignored and insulted, but we had to stay because we thought we needed them. Now we know the truth. We never needed them. They needed us. And now we can choose whether to help or not. And we choose to help." "Yes," Yuna said, "because that is who we are. We are the species that builds bridges. We are the species that solves problems. We are the species that looks at a broken galaxy and asks, how can we fix this?" She raised her cup of tea toward the screen, where Park Do-hun was shaking hands with the valiant high speaker. The old enemies were learning to work together. The old wounds were healing. The galaxy was becoming something new. "But never again," Yuna said quietly, "will they forget what we are worth." Sun-hee smiled. "No, ma'am, I do not think they will." The sun finished setting outside the window. The stars came out, bright and beautiful. Among those stars, thousands of ships carried goods and people and ideas between worlds that had once been at war. Human ships, human ideas, human dreams. The galaxy had learned its lesson, and humanity had finally taken its place among the stars, not as servants, not as children, but as the ones who held everything together. And that made all the difference.